All right, welcome to the latest edition of the FPL America Arsenal podcast. This is David Smith.
Travis Hoig.
What kind of cookie did you grab?
I haven't grabbed one yet.
Oh, all right. Brian Chesko, I'm grabbing a snickerdoodle.
I ended up with something pumpkin-y. It was fun.
Oh, the pumpkin chip. That's what you grabbed. Tonight's
very
podcast
floppy.
brought to you by Rookies, Lynchburg, Virginia staple for delicious ice cream. They make their own ice cream and delicious cookies. And
they put their ice cream in the cookies.
You can do that. And ice cream sandwiches, whatever. And if you want to really get
That's
something awesome, get an affogato. Affogatos are just unbelievable.
Okay.
Anyway, that's it. What are we talking about tonight?
All right. We
That's
have
it.
a ton to talk about. I always have nonsense I could talk about. We're not going to talk about any. To start this thing, Travis, where should we start? I mean, Brian, I know we have a lot of things to cover, right?
I'm on a wild card.
Okay. Travis, are we?
You guys did your wild cards. Now it's my turn.
It's your turn. Let's
All
talk
right.
about wild cards.
You want me to blab about something while you're finished chewing?
No.
Okay.
First, let me answer the question why, because I've seen it's so.
Why are you wild carding now?
Yeah, nothing is more hilarious than people saying like, "Am I missing something? Why
now?
Why would you do that? It's so early." And so for me, it was I had two dead forwards.
Right.
One.
He died?
Well, I had Muniz and João Pedro.
Dead to
They're
me.
still alive.
For sure. I had
Being so technical, Travis.
Jota in the midfield, so that was a spot that needed to go.
Okay, right.
I had
Jota to Diaz, yes.
I mean, Jota just scored a
for sure
great goal.
Jota.
Right.
Played well.
Jota.
two defenders who were useless. So I had Lewis Hall and Ben Johnson.
Wow. Okay.
So that was really bad. And then
At least it wasn't Barco.
for sure, and then Dean Henderson and Fabianski, and Dean Henderson who lucked into probably the
Luckiest
the
of
best
lucks.
his
Awesome.
his highest score of the season. Either way, I had enough spots and the money. I didn't have enough money to do anything by moving. Like if I move Jota out for who?
Diaz.
The most I can do is make so it was Embuemo first because that was my first consideration. Even then, I'm only saving myself like 0.4 or
If that,
whatever.
Yeah.
So it's not enough money to move anything around. The only way to kind of make up those extra spaces was to do the wild card. Yeah. Hall, Jota, Pedro, Muniz, Ben Johnson, Dean Henderson, Fabianski. The biggest dilemma for me was keep Salah or not.
Okay.
And so I think that is one of the other big narratives is like they're about to play Wolves. Why would you take him out? And I'm like,
because Diaz
like
is
your
not
voice
scoring
of
it. And
public.
it's cheaper.
am I missing something here? Why are so many? Obviously, it shouldn't even have to be said. Since you can't have everyone, someone expensive has to go. And so if you had Cole Palmer and you were wild carding, your debate would be, do I keep Cole Palmer? And depending on who you don't have, you would say, do I want Cole Palmer or do I want Saka? Do I want Cole Palmer or do I want to go up to Salah? That is the decision
Legitimate
every
questions.
week. Right. So it's like I just don't see how Haaland is the expensive character to sacrifice right now.
You cannot.
We'll talk about that
You
later.
could.
but, yeah.
I'm sure there are some successful teams out there that have made it without him. Just like every year, there's somebody that looks essential that someone ranked higher than you doesn't have. It's just the way the game is. Also, I would say it's obvious. Everyone wants this game. This is FPL philosophy.
Okay.
Everyone wants this to be a medium to long-term game, but you can't help shifting your thinking in weekly short-term decisions. It just is this game.
And that's the difference between a serious player and a casual player, I think, more so than anything. Once you start to this is deeper than it needs to be, but once you start to mature as an FPL player, that's where you actually start digging into, okay, I can't just pick the guys that are good and just leave them all season and hope they don't get hurt and swap them in and out. You actually have to pay attention to even a little bit more than matchups. You have to pay attention to the idea of, okay, this week I need to do this. And that was one of the major things that I struggled with was I didn't ever want to take hits.
Yeah.
But in order to be able to truly accomplish what you're talking about, you got to be willing to to take a hit for a short-term gain, because the short-term gains are the only way that you're going to be successful.
Just think of the beginning of the season, the debate over Salah and or Haaland.
Yeah.
And all of the decisions and the reasons why one was better than the other, or why you could cover one without the other. And 2 weeks in, and you're tearing it all up.
I got broken.
So,
Well, you did fine.
but just to
I
say,
survived.
We're tied now, by the way. That's not surviving.
all of that to say that all of the thinking behind what you do can obviously change next week. It happens every time you wild card.
Yeah.
Immediately the week after, you're like, oh, why didn't I see that coming? I just think, one, and just by points, Haaland has no equal in the game, much less at his position.
Sure.
So far, it's not even close. Diaz is 12 points off of him. So that's 12 points, and he's had like the most amazing run of his career. Salah might be 1A in the game. You might even argue he might be straight up 1. He might still be 1, but he's currently second in the Liverpool midfield to Luis Diaz. We can talk about Liverpool later. But I just think all of the debates at the beginning, like what it came down to is Salah plus all the guys that I just said, Pedro, Lewis Hall, all those guys that I feel like are dead weight, or just a simple draft. One of the early ones I made of Luis Diaz plus Raya plus Gabriel and possibly also Urian Timber, like putting Timber in there with Gabriel and Embuemo, Solanke, or Nicholas Jackson or Watkins.
Yeah.
Plus John Duran or Welbeck or Chris Wood or Calvert-Lewin or right.
Yeah.
So it's Diaz plus that assortment of characters, or what I had, which was Salah plus garbage.
So, do you have a working draft that you're happy with, that you think you're going to stick with, or are you still tweaking pretty heavily?
I can tell you what it is right this second, because it did shift off of what I did originally. I've changed my mind on Raya as a pick, and I had changed my mind for Raya
because I was giving him such a hard time.
No, it's not even because of the possible injury. It was I hedged forward.
Yeah.
I changed my mind. Like initially, I was like, no, I gotta get Raya in there again. You like clean sheets for goalkeepers, but it's back to it. It's gone from Raya to Sells from Nottingham Forest, and now I'm back to I'm on Flecken, and I'm back to kind of the thinking like.
I wish I had a soundbite of you saying, "I don't want Flecken in my team."
I know.
Now
You said it like
but
4 or 5 times.
I'm on Flecken. It could be Sells again. This could be a defense. It could be like the quality of defense.
Flecken and Sells. What's wrong with Sanchez from Chelsea, who's for whatever reason gotten 2 clean sheets in a row?
I think it's that it's. So I don't really see. I was going to talk about this in Cheap Defenders with Colwell, Fofana.
Okay, all right, we'll get.
And we have a whole
guys.
section on goalkeepers,
Right.
so let's
That's
move
right.
on.
Right.
That's a good call.
So it was Flecken. I kept Fabianski. I still need the freedom of a non-playing second goalkeeper. I get it. It's not ideal. Anyone can get hurt anytime, but whatever. Backline, I kept Trent. You can talk me out of that later if you want. Rico Lewis is going to stay, especially now, kind of given the the news. Now that we know Rodri's out indefinitely, Gabriel's back in the team. Why did he ever leave? And then I've got 2 4-0s, and that's the weakness. So that's the real bad.
It's fine.
It's not my favorite.
Which 4-0s? Just
so I switched to Greaves from Ipswich and Vandenberg from Brentford.
Okay.
I don't trust. Looking through it, there's only 3.
You're not expecting much.
Right, you're not. There's only 3 of the 4-0 defenders who have played every minute this season.
Greaves is one.
Greaves and Fass. But he's 4.1, and then there's somebody else. There was one other guy. Yeah,
Mascara's hurt now. I think he's done for the season.
Either way, that's the back
I think
line.
he was playing everything.
Midfield is basically what it already was. So it's Saka, Smith Rowe, kept Rogers, Embuemo in, and Luis Diaz.
You're keeping Rogers.
Yeah, I'm keeping him.
All right.
I mean, he smashed, and nothing's changing with their upcoming schedule.
Smashed.
Yeah,
Right.
He's Harvey Barnesing.
I mean,
is what's happening.
I would call
he's
it.
doing just enough to keep you interested.
A 10
but
his
stats are
He finally did it. 2 assists and 3 bonus points, which, by the way, the bonus points changed, like the next day or whatever. And then the front line is where I feel like I wanted to go for it, and it's Havertz, Solanke, Haaland. And Solanke right now, before the deadline, can be Nicholas Jackson. So,
Gotcha.
And then either of those two guys could be anyone cheaper at any point. So that was
in order to free up money for something else if you needed to move on.
Right, and easily. Solanke can go down to any of the other trendy, cheaper guys for Havertz to come up to Watkins or whatever. So, so I wanted that kind of spine of Gabriel, Saka, Havertz. Yeah. Unless you feel like, I feel like they kind of took out their aggression today a little bit. But
it was it was
fine.
That was fine.
They weren't starting everybody normal, but the next 3 games,
they had a really hot new young player that scored.
Wanyeri.
No, that wasn't Sterling. Yeah.
That's Sterling.
Goal and assist.
He was, man.
Good to see some
It's a good one to keep an eye out for.
Good scouting on that kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A young guy.
So anyway, that's where I am right this second.
Okay. I can't shoot holes in any of that. It sounds really good.
You're saying nice things about Arsenal. Why would he shoot holes in it?
Here's the hard. I think the hard question is when we get to Arsenal. It really is. If I could make Saka, I could try to go without him, make Saka into Salah for one more week. Take Salah in the Wolves match, hedge a little bit that Leicester, Saka. I can find it. I forget who it is. It's like FPL tips and tricks or something like that. They went through and did the form of key players against their opponents this week. Saka's never scored
against Wolves
against Leicester.
No.
Saka's never scored against Leicester. Interesting.
And I think an assist or 2 assists or something like that in
play him.
Yeah, I'm sure he hasn't probably played him a ton. But
they weren't in the league last year, but they were. He's been starting for 5 years now. He's been starting since he was 18.
So
wild,
different situation. Obviously, this is the best team he's ever played or he's ever been in. This is the best that he's ever been.
But there's still no Odegaard there,
and this might be the worst that Leicester has ever been. Yeah, since they got booted from the top tier years ago.
But they've shown some fight over the last couple of weeks. All right, pretty good.
The point is,
all right, that's good. Good update there.
The point is, there's so many of those moves. Every time I put Salah in, though, something else suffered.
Yeah.
So that's why I was saying, unless you.
But you're going without Diaz.
No, Diaz is in there.
Oh, he is in there. Okay. All right. No. I think I hedged on Liverpool offense earlier in the season. Well, I started with Jota. And then on my wild card, he had to go. He kind of cooled off. He was good for the first couple games. I still think he's going to continue to produce, but it's Diaz is sort of hit a little bit of a stride, and I think it's foolish to not go with Diaz at the moment.
I am a little nervous. I think this is a bit of uncharted territory for Arsenal, and so that's why I think heaping on them and just assuming oh boy, here they come. They're angry and don't think about Havertz as an asset the way you would have thought about him 2 weeks ago going into the City match or going into Spurs or whatever. This is he's not going to be in the same spot. It's well, where exactly is he going to be that's all that much better given the personnel?
He's going to be starting striker.
Great.
Leicester, Southampton, Bournemouth. Why would you not? Havertz is going to be there.
I think. Yeah, that's what I mean. On paper,
Havertz scored again today in limited minutes at the Carabao Cup. It's Bolton. I'm not bragging on that. I'm just saying.
So that's why I'm saying. To me, this felt way better than because then if it's Havertz down to Calvert-Lewin, well, I can make Saka into Salah again. But I don't like that as much. It just doesn't feel the same. So anyway,
it's good.
And
that's
this
where
game's all about the
is.
feels.
Oh yeah, that's the only way to make choices.
Speaking of feels,
next Travis,
what's it feel like to find a 5-0 or under defender?
It feels great when it works.
Well, you have 2 4-0s. Are you scared about
man.
Greaves? And
Yeah, of course.
who was the other one you decided on?
It's not Van de Ven.
Vandenberg.
Brentford. Yeah. No, I just think that kind of like going through the list of like the best sub 5.0. So 5.0 or less or whatever. I think it matters because like I said, if you have one Arsenal defender, Trent or Robertson, or Trent and Robertson, some people might still be on that. Yeah. 2 or 3 of your defenders are going to have to be cheap. I mean, it just is the way it is.
With Konate, I got him at a 5.0. He's now 5.1.
Mm-hmm.
Did he ever crack a thought? I mean, you couldn't get to him. You're talking about 4.0s, but
I'm
Travis,
thinking,
he was a 5
in this segment you alluded to a 5.0. He's like
5 and under is what Brian was.
Yeah, so I'm saying like the most popular choices, like Anthony Robinson at 16.9% selected. Yeah. Currently 5th most transferred out. I'm guessing that he's going to drop in price probably maybe before the deadline. Who knows? Does anyone know anything about price rises or falls this season?
Anything anymore?
So he's out of my team. I don't love getting rid of him, but I just think look what they have coming up, and you tell me where the plus side is for the Fulham defense. We can talk a little bit more about that later because there's another Fulham defender who I think if you wanted to go a little more attacking. Like Anthony Robinson as a creative attacker, well, Kenny Tet is better for that, I think.
Okay.
Mazraoui from Manchester United, 4.6, 15.9% selected.
He came out hot.
Look, back-to-back clean sheets for Manchester United.
I know.
Lost their draw today. Manchester United fans up in arms all over again. Ten Hag can't do anything right.
I just don't like their mojo, man.
Mazraoui's this 131,000 transfers in, second most transferred in. That's a ton.
I know. And look, I have another 4.6 guy, Lewis. Would you rather have Mazraoui or Lewis?
I'd rather have Rico Lewis. But this is what I'm saying. For Manchester United, they're home to Spurs.
I don't know if it's that clean.
United, I would definitely.
All right, keep going.
Spurs, they're home to Spurs and then at Villa in the next 2. So I don't know what you're really expecting from Manchester United defense or whatever in the next 2 weeks.
Yes, agree.
But check the schedule after that. I would say just nicely green for basically the rest of the calendar year.
That's true.
So one of the reasons why I really like, if I could make the money work, I might consider Onana on the wild card as a goalkeeper.
He's 5.0.
Not only is he 5.0, he's the second highest points.
Right, that's what I mean. He's second points. I just think for their defenders, like once you get into Dalot, De Ligt, you have probably more attacking threat. Even Lissandro Martinez. I've got some numbers on those guys in a minute, but I just think that everyone's choosing Mazraoui. He offers like the least attacking threat. He's taken 4 shots this season.
Dalot is probably the opposite of that.
He's even less creative. He's created 3 chances. His XG is 0.2. His XA is 0.15. So he's nearly doing nothing. His assist was extremely lucky this year. Yes, everybody loves clean sheets, and defensively he offers you something, but whatever. Like I don't know that you. I'm not sure why he's a wild card choice. I'm not sure why people are going to him.
I agree.
Now,
Yeah.
like 2 weeks from now, fantastic. Right now, don't really see it. Do you really want a United defender against Spurs and Villa?
No,
unless it's just a setup and he's going to sit on the bench.
Ezri Konsa, 13.7%. He's still 4-5, even with scoring a goal. Congrats to everybody who lucked into his goal this week.
Is he fine? I think was he hurt?
I think he was dinged at the very beginning of the season, but he was a late returner anyway from Euros. Truly offers you next to nothing. So quality defensive player. I'm not saying anything about him as a defender.
Right, sure.
He's taken 2 shots this season.
Fantasy reasons, yes.
He has 5 touches in the opposition box in 5 games. For a central defender, that's low.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you, think of how many times like Virgil's in the box, James Tarkowski's in the box a million times. Like there are some of the center backs are like the target men. He's obviously not. And also, just say for anybody bringing like a Villa defender or whatever in, They can't keep a clean sheet. Yes, they have Ipswich. Like Ipswich is as bad as it gets. They have they have the lowest XG, like the fewest shots on target per game for any team.
Which is shocking.
Ipswich away.
But it's Ipswich. I think
plays more attacking.
But after Ipswich, I say for Villa, it gets worse. Like I really don't understand the appeal of going to someone like this.
I agree.
United away to Fulham, Bournemouth away to Spurs, away to Liverpool, Palace, and then away to Chelsea.
Right.
What's good there?
Nothing.
They haven't kept a clean sheet yet in some very plus matchups.
Yeah.
It's getting worse for them. Vald Fast, we already said he's 4.1. That's it. That's the only reason why he's selected at 13%.
He's an enabler.
Dan Byrne, I have no idea what anyone is thinking. He's 12% selected. The only thing is, like, he's got 5 points. He had 5 points game week 1.
Those are dead teams.
He's had 1 or 0 in every game since.
Wow.
Like, why is he in any team? I don't understand why you'd pick him at all. Nothing is funnier to me than hearing about Dan Byrne as a goal threat because he's tall. He has 3 shots this season.
Right.
I get it. He is tall. He is tall.
He's
You can't argue.
got a hell of a forehead.
He is tied for 3rd for touches in the opposition box, but I just say, who cares?
Because it doesn't suit my narrative.
No.
So I don't care.
But it hasn't. I'm saying it hasn't
resulted.
It hasn't
in
resulted
anything.
in literally anything. He's got like 9 points for the season. Harwood Bellis from Southampton. He's 4-0, same as Valtfast. He almost got a clean sheet this week, but whatever. You're only picking him because he's $4.
That's right.
Joachim Anderson. I think that's a Fulham defender where, like, okay, I can kind of see that because you get him at a little bit of a discount. He's 4.4. He's still in 10% of teams, which I feel like is odd. I think it's left over from Crystal Palace. He's taken 4 shots in 2 starts. So there's your difference.
There's something.
Right. Probably won't offer the same like goal involvement as Anthony Robinson will, but we've seen him be attacking at Crystal Palace.
Yep.
So that's a guy like, you're probably not going to, some of these other guys, but if you really wanted to, like there's a 10th savings on some, somebody who's a little cheaper.
Yeah.
Luka Dean, he's in 8% of teams. Surely now.
Mine.
People will sell him.
Finally, after this week, he can't be an option. So why you would be buying him now?
Unless you just, I don't know who's buying him.
Why you'd be buying him now?
Right.
Because he's playing Ipswich.
It's crazy town.
Benched at halftime.
Probably.
Benched at halftime this week. Not saying it's time for the Motson takeover, but yet again, Motson
be worried if you own
outperformed him. Although Luka Dean, craziest stat of the season so far, in my mind. 5 chances created, 4 of them are classified as big chances. I don't know how you do that. He's got 2 assists, but whatever.
He ran over there and set the ball at the striker's feet.
Pretty much. Lewis Duncan, 7.8%. He's 4.6, so he has gone up. Are you surprised he's 7.8%? Lewis Dunk? You remember Dunk?
Yeah.
He's in Brighton?
Dunk's just a name that just hangs around.
Along with Byrne, which is also just one of those.
They've been productive over the last couple of years, and people just stick them in their team. And here's the other thing, too. They very well could be players in teams that it will change this week on Wildcards. So if there's a lot of people wildcarding, it will change. And then also I've just had other fires to put out, so I've just buried them. No one except for a few defenses has been really good, so I don't even care.
Speaking of tall, ineffective guys, Lewis Dunk, 2 shots, just 2 touches in the opposition box. A player that I would never have guessed that given what we've seen from him in previous seasons. So extremely low XG for a guy that has done it a little bit, seems like.
All right.
And then Mickey Van de Ven, 4.5. He's at 7%. I say he's tempting at that price, but he scored with his only shot so far this season.
Right.
And he's 1 hamstring tightness rest away from not playing for a week or 2.
And let's be honest, he's going to have to track back, and when he makes those recovery runs, that's when the hammies explode.
Here's your real other considerations, because I think this, like, based on the way people are transfers in, Levi Colwill for Chelsea seems to be a trendier choice on transfers in. He's 4.5 still 4.5. He's only 2.4% selected. I threw Cucurella in there too. He's 6.1%, but he's a little more expensive. He is actually 5. I would just say, like, no Chelsea defender has more than 2 shots this season. No Chelsea defender has created more than 4 chances this season. Like,
the second one is much more concerning.
Gusto is fit now, so he probably would change that assuming he comes back in and starts. I don't know why he wouldn't. He only starts when he's healthy, so I don't know. He's not whatever. He should be coming back in, but fitness is the concern. I guess it depends how you see their defense versus their upcoming schedule. So Chelsea's upcoming schedule, they have multiple home games here. So 2, Brighton at home and Nottingham Forest at home. At Stamford Bridge, they are 5th best for shots allowed. So they've allowed 10 shots per game at home. That's against Manchester City and Crystal Palace. Just 2 games. Again, small sample size, but whatever. They also have the best home XG against. So they've allowed 3 goals on a 1.69 XG. I just see, like, Brighton and Nottingham Forest are the next 2 matchups. Why are they green? That is green for no reason.
I know. Well, we always...
Green what? Green for attack? I assure you that Nottingham Forest is not a green attack right now. Brighton, maybe I can see that.
Ask Liverpool that. Forest.
Brighton, 5th best for shots per game away. Their XG is
1 goal scored on them this entire season.
Average XG away for Brighton, but still, like, this is not a non-attacking side. Like, they are very good. Nottingham Forest is 14th for shots per game away, but they're 8th best for shots on target, and they are 5th best in the league away with 4.72 XG. Nottingham Forest, also not a joke team. Like, I'm not really sure, like, why are you seeing them as, why would anyone see them as green?
Well, because they're the newcomers a little bit.
Then Chelsea play away to Liverpool, home to Newcastle, at United, and home to Arsenal.
Yeah.
That's 6 games in a row where you're like, I don't think I want their defense. And that to answer your question before the pod about Robert Sanchez.
Right.
Everyone's going to him.
Price went up, by the way. Prices just came through, and
he's 4.7.
Sanchez went up.
Jeez. So I'm not really sure what you're expecting to get out of it.
I hear you. That's good. Well, good point.
We talked about Greaves, but Ipswich defender, looking again at, you talk about green schedules. Ipswich is great. I would say a very green schedule until December. So Greaves, Leif Davis, and Axel Tuanzebe. Those are your 3 nailed defenders. Leif Davis he's the only one that's 4.5. Tuanzebe is 4. So that's another one where you're like I get it. I put Greaves in. It could be either of those guys. I'm not really sure what I don't know. Stats are
playing those guys though.
No.
So it doesn't really matter.
It's more.
I actually did play Greaves this past week, but he scored the same as Semenyo on the bench. So.
Leif Davis, 17,000 transfers in, puts him outside of the top 30 for transfers in for defenders. It's that 0.5. That's it.
Yeah.
That 0.5 has just turned into so valuable that it's pushed him so far down. If you had to pick one, money, no object, you find the extra 0.5 to put Leif Davis in. He's higher XG than the other 2 guys by a considerable
margin. He's the better
margin.
option. It's just the 0.5. Right. And you're not...
He's 5th for chances created for defenders. So he's kind of doing... no one expected him to be as prolific as he was in the championship, but he's way up there.
Sure.
7 this is for defenders.
And 5 their matchups have sucked too. So until just last week.
Also... Still. Leif has out-touched all the other tractor boys in the box. He's got 7 box touches, which is the highest of any of the Ipswich defenders.
Love touching boxes.
Oh yeah, for sure. And so that's what I was going to say. It was Michael Keane. That's the other 4-0 defender who has played every minute
from Everton.
So the only 4-0 defenders who have played every minute so far through 5 games are Greaves from Ipswich, Keane, and Wildcards. But Keane's losing his spot. Branthwaite is if not back this weekend, back the week after that. Keane will not play as long as Branthwaite is fit.
And boy, do they need him because they've been porous.
Dave, you still have Ola Aina?
I never had him.
Oh, I thought you got him.
I thought you transferred him in while we were.
No. I have a Onana in my team, but he came in on my wild card.
The same person.
I don't have Ina.
Not from Nottingham Forest. So
I don't.
So the Nottingham Forest defenders, it's Ina, Murillo, and Nikola Milenkovic. Those are your three that are the only ones that matter. As much as it pains me to leave out Alex Moreno, and it pains me less to leave out Nico Williams, those guys are splitting time. They split half each last week.
Neither of them looked all that
Sucks
good
because Nico Williams, despite all of his reduced minutes, he's still third among defenders, cheap defenders for shots. He's taken 7 shots so far this season.
That's interesting.
So we barely got to see Alex Moreno, but he's active as usual in the penalty area.
And in this podcast.
All right.
XG Philosophy, follow them on X at XG Philosophy.
X.
It's a great account. I think it's if nothing more just for the entertainment value of seeing lopsided XG stats for a winner and loser.
Oh.
Despite finishing 17th, Nottingham Forest had the 4th best defense in the league last season, conceding an XG of 57.72.
I would not have thought that.
4th best for XG against Nottingham Forest last season. Only Arsenal, City, and Liverpool conceded less.
Wow.
This season, Nottingham Forest have conceded just 4.51 XG from their first 5 games, second only to Liverpool.
Best defense in the league.
I mean,
statistically, yes.
If Liverpool hadn't conceded only 1 goal all season so far, yeah, you might say that. But I'm just saying,
they gotta play somebody.
I mean,
True.
they've played some good teams.
They're fine.
It's fine.
I'm just saying,
I said this. I think after week 2, I'm like Liverpool. I own 2 Liverpool defenders.
I'm saying this is Nottingham Forest, and I'm saying you've got Ina at 5.6%, Murillo at 0.8%, and Milenkovic at 0.3%. All 3 of those guys are 4.5. Ina was 4.4, so he's gone up in price. The only reason why he's that owned is because he had dropped to 4.4 and was a hot pick a couple weeks ago.
Hot.
Murillo's probably the most talented. News already that he probably won't last through next summer for Nottingham Forest. Apparently, they had turned down multiple Premier League clubs who are interested in his services. Now he's linked with as high as Real Madrid and Barcelona. So currently playing central defense for Nottingham Forest. Wow. The numbers favor Milenkovic, I guess, out of those. He's second on the team in shots. He's got 2 big chances this season. He's decently creative. He's in the box a decent amount. But I'm just saying, these are non-considerations for almost anybody for a team that right now, by numbers, is the second best defense in the league.
You made your case.
I'm not sure.
It's a really good point.
These are the last few. Mikolenko back for Everton.
Okay.
Missed out
Doesn't
because
matter.
Illness 2 weeks ago. Last week missed, still illness.
Let's discuss this.
He's 4.3.
Mikolenko and Branthwaite coming back.
Yep.
Now all of a sudden, Everton looks a little better.
Everyone's talking about. We talked about all how many times do you hear people trying to fit DCL into their team, Calvert-Lewin's, and how many teams, because of all of these great matchups, all of the fixtures that Everton have coming up, it's a pretty green patch for them until game week 14. So if Branthwaite is coming back, assuming that he is, he's significantly better as a player. It's not going to make Everton invincible all of a sudden, but still,
it will help.
Maybe they can hold on to a lead.
Yeah. I just think you're not too enthused.
Well, that's been their problem.
No. I'm like, ooh, you're right.
Shade, but
that's ooh, you're right. Ooh.
How enthused are you to get into the Everton defense? I'm not sure. But you have seen Mikolenko do it before, I guess is my point.
He was ownable last season.
Right.
Not recently, though.
Last season?
Here's your real numbers. Kenny Tete,
Tete?
4.5.
Let's go there.
0.4% selected. Tete has taken 9 shots so far this season. 9 shots. It is the most of any defender 5.0 or less. He's second for all defenders. Only Pedro Porro has taken more shots than him.
Wow.
Taken 7 shots in the box. That's number 1 for all defenders. Just one big chance. I get it. Whatever. But he's 10 touches in the opposition box, which is tied for 5th for anyone 5.0 or less.
Okay.
I just think
that's a really good.
What you don't like is that the Fulham schedule for their defense is, I would just say, highly off-putting pretty much until Christmas. I mean, just you scan through. You tell me where the Fulham defense, where you look at that and you're like, oh, yeah, there's a good run. I think that's why Anthony Robinson is so out.
Sellable.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, I still think this is one to think about. They're the 8th best defense for shots allowed per game. So Fulham is, like, even though like they're conceding a lot, I get it. They've conceded in every game so far, and the beginning of their schedule was easily the best part of their schedule.
Yep.
But they are 4th best defensively for XG against. So they're at 5.44, and they've allowed 5 goals. They've allowed a goal per game. Ryan Ait-Nouri. We talked about Cunha last week. Just kind of highlighting what's coming up. The Wolves, I've seen it a lot. Like Cunha's, he obviously
Here come the Wolves.
Scored this week. Wolves defense, yes, it blows. They've conceded 13 goals in 5 games. Like, that's awful. Captain Salah this week. He was flagged as a doubt ahead of Aston Villa last week, but didn't matter. Played 90 minutes. He's also taken 7 shots so far, so he's tied for 2nd among the cheaper, like the sub 5.0 defenders. There's only a handful of defenders who have 2 big chances this season, and he's one of them. So he's gotten close to more points. He had 1 assist in the Chelsea game, but they lost 6-2. So even with an assist, he had 2 points. Right. I'm not sure what their defense is going to look like now that they don't have Mosquera. I guess I think that did I see it's an ACL? I think he's. I think it's a season ender.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, he had it coming.
Who's gonna grab?
You're still
the
stuck
back,
on that choke.
Who's gonna grab the rear ends of? But the schedule's terrible up to this point.
I don't know what he's talking about. I don't know what you're talking about.
No, he. Who did he poke? He grabbed Jesus. Was it
grabbed Jesus?
He grabbed Jesus' butt. Trav, you don't remember this?
It's disgusting. But
after he choked. With the same hand, he choked.
I'm saying that Wolves' schedule has been terrible up to this point. The terribleness of their schedule wraps up in game week 8. So the next 3 weeks, they have Liverpool, Brentford, Manchester City. After that, that's where the schedule goes.
Maybe consider
that's
them.
where the schedule goes green.
Okay.
To me, like, I'm sure just get ahead of the thinking on it, I guess. I've already seen it. Everybody notices everything.
All right.
So either way, that was one of the other guys.
Okay.
Really the only other guy, it was Brentford defender. It was Nathan Collins. We probably should have talked about him up to this point. He's 4.5, just 1.3% selected.
There's an animal.
Again, they've another team that's been pretty battered
Brentford's had a rough schedule.
A bad schedule, but their schedule eases up, I would say, for the most part. The Brentford schedule eases up pretty much until Christmas. It's another schedule where it's like, it's the reason why.
I think out of most of those, I like Collins the most. I mean, they're home to West Ham, and West Ham is an abject disaster.
Yeah, they're bad right now.
And they lost Alvarez to a red card, who will not be playing in the next match.
Yeah, repping.
I hate it. I want West Ham to be better. The manager, West Ham should be better than they are.
They should be,
and they can't get it together right now. And I can only blame.
Looks like a freaking lunatic.
Yeah,
too.
he is a dumpster fire. I would bet he's going to get canned really soon.
It's just that Nathan Collins, he's tied for 4th for the sub. Any defender 5.0 or less. He's taken 5 shots so far this season. 3 of them on target. So that's tied for 2nd most among the cheaper defenders.
Headers from corners.
10 touches in the opposition box, tied for 5th among cheap defenders. Only Vandenberg, who is in my team right now, he's the only one who's selected even a little bit more than Nathan Collins, and that's only because, again, he's 4.0.
Yeah.
But anyway, like Nathan Collins is one that I feel like was
That's a
maybe
good
should
one.
be more
I like that
considered.
shout. All right, let's move on.
I won't tell you about Manchester United defenders because I know you guys hate them, but De Ligt, Lissandro Martinez, Dalot,
Sounds
they've
like
got
it's time.
I
the
know.
they've got the stats, but do you want them in your team?
I just don't
Do you
like
like
the United mojo.
Do you like 2-foot jumping stomps? In that case, you should put Lissandro Martinez into your team. So if you like that kind of thing, no, but those are some of the guys. De Ligt and Lissandro are two that have had two big chances to score this season so far.
And De
Good
Ligt has one
Yeah,
that he scored.
and Dalot's decently
You
creative.
won't find
I
a
like
podcast with better stats, defenders 5-0 and less than what you just heard.
You can
You won't find it.
I'm just saying, like everyone's
I'm not going to look.
That was Travis.
I
That
know.
was exhaustive.
But what I'm saying
And
is,
I don't mean that in,
something.
No, I don't mean that in a negative way. I'm saying that was done perfectly.
I'm just saying that there are options here. A lot of these guys end up, the cheap guys end up in just for cheap reasons. And I'm like, I'm not really sure why some of the other characters are getting overlooked other than it's not I
Popular.
don't know. Yeah, that it's just
Everyone
your
likes to see
favorite
who's
pundit is
everyone else.
not. Yeah,
That's exactly right.
So
Well,
there.
it's a good thing that you are a lot of people's favorite pundit.
Oh man, yeah.
Your fans are going
Yeah.
to go wild
Yeah,
for
that's-
Cheapish Defenders.
I can't wait for the feedback.
Speaking of going wild,
Yeah.
what crazy thing were you drinking when you thought Brereton Diaz was going to score more points than Luis Diaz?
Listen, I've got a
Because
lot of bets
you
right over the last couple of years. That was
Did not
one.
win that bet.
That
and,
was
and
who's the better Diaz?
let's
Not the
just-
one I chose.
let's just be honest. It was not even close.
Now, in fairness,
not
Diaz has
even
had a
close.
Luis Diaz has had a massive, and kudos to him coming
like
out.
an
party.
unreal-
So
an
he has
unreal.
been amazing. Obviously, he's the number one fantasy scorer in the midfield.
51 points versus 8 points.
Oh my, that's like
We wanted to talk about Diaz and Diogo Jota. Diogo Jota?
Diogo Jota.
What did you put it on as? What is this segment?
This segment is Diaz bet. Anyone?
Oh, that's too bad. I would have recommended Liverpool. Now what?
Yes.
Travis, here we.
How can
Travis,
you- oh, that's funny.
That's
He's never
long.
heard that one.
It's long.
He's
that's way back.
He's never heard.
Travis, here we are again
Yes.
with Luis Diaz. 7.9. Did he go up tonight?
He did.
Is he 8?
No.
That's
he did not.
tomorrow.
He
He did not go up, but
it
he
is
went
tomorrow.
up.
Yeah.
It's tomorrow. He and Saka are going up tomorrow.
He went up on the 22nd.
Yeah.
So he's
already.
still 7-9.
Yes.
So he is still 7-9, and he did not go up.
When I
tonight.
typed it out, it was 31.2% selected, but I'm assuming it's over that
So
now.
he will be at 8.
Travis, which thing are you focusing on with Luis Diaz? 3 out of the last 5 getting double-digit returns, or rotation risk, 71 minutes or less each week?
And Gakpo
The second.
screaming.
You are.
Screaming for minutes.
So
You're
he's
focused-
not.
I'm not saying
here's the
he's
issue.
a direct competition with Diaz.
So Gakpo scored 2 goals today.
I know. Gakpo is a hungry
and
boy.
here's the thing. They weren't like sloppy, like lucky goals.
They were bangers.
He
I
worked
haven't seen
his
him
socks off
to get those goals.
and scored 2 really nice goals.
Oh boy!
Like
Again, Liverpool. Now what?
That's why I'm asking.
here's the thing.
This is the most.
I really think that there's a good chance that rotation is going to happen and is going to affect Luis Diaz's minutes. That said,
I think it might.
I
affect
moved
Salah's
from
minutes.
from Diogo Jota to Diaz this
Okay.
week.
He didn't play a minute.
He did not.
So
he
that
will. He'll start. He'll start this.
That's favorable.
100% yes.
Okay.
But Gakpo's also come on in every single match
Right.
this season. Every single match. And I think Slot has made it clear that when he can rotate when he can give people rest, he's going to pull them.
Yeah.
He's going to pull them. And that was the whole thing with Trent. He's not used to that. There's been okay, well, we'll let you finish the match out. But for whatever reason, Slot has been very, very intentional about pulling the players he's protecting. And Diaz is absolutely one of those people that he's protecting. So I mean, I think the only one that isn't really getting yanked on the regular to protect him is Salah, and that's just because he's the type of player that needs to be playing as many minutes as possible in order to stay fit.
Though, I just wonder.
What if Salah starts getting yanked earlier?
A little bit, maybe 79th minute, maybe 78th minute.
Maybe, but at that point, does it matter?
No,
because you've already got your 2 points
no.
Right, like
it's fair.
I mean, obviously, it matters if he converts something, right, or if there's a penalty late in the game because he's the one that's likely to take it, right. So I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't matter necessarily, but it's insignificant. Whereas Diaz is, hell on wheels, full on sprint every move he makes.
Right,
like that's a guy that you're going to want
Diaz is doing what
to
I
give
wish.
you 60 minutes of run your socks off. You come off. You are exhausted. You are spent. Right. I've got plenty of depth to put in when we need fresh legs.
This feels like the poor man's version of the Salah Mane every season debate.
But they played together regularly.
But Mane, I'm saying Mane is a better player.
Oh yeah,
he's a way better player than Diaz is, and now Diaz has
not in the beginning. I mean, this is kind of how Mane started.
But I'm saying that.
Let's remember how he started.
But I'm saying a few years ago, there was a point in every season where Mane started outscoring Salah.
Yeah,
and it was cheaper.
Yep.
But Mane always had that in him. He was always great. And then now you get Luis Diaz, who's had he had a great run of matches last season when Salah was out after AFCON.
Did you see Peter Schmeichel's notes on Diaz? Have you guys seen that?
No.
He was breaking down Luis Diaz, and he just basically said, he said he's not a good finisher. He's lucky. He scored 2 goals. He's lucky to score them. He's not going to score them every week because he's not a good finisher.
So that's what I thought. I thought the issue was finishing. He can't seem to miss now. He's got 5 goals from 8 shots. From 8 shots on target,
which is excellent.
From 7 big chances. 5 goals from 7 big chances. It's not exactly comparable, but last season he had 8 goals from 32 shots on target. So great. That's 25%. Still pretty good. But he had 18 big chances. So he scored 8 goals from 18 big chances. It's not Darwin.
What's his heat
not
map,
as bad as Darwin.
What's his heat map? Have you looked at that at all?
This cookie's unbelievable.
It's a snickerdoodle.
Oh my god.
Yeah. That's what I'm telling you.
Dave didn't just pull one cookie; he pulled the entire box.
I could get a dozen snickerdoodles from rookies.
Oh my god!
It would only
they're
be
amazing.
$25.
They always perfectly undercook them.
Yeah, that is true.
They're awesome.
It's too close to the heat map, though. Going back to the heat map, all of those chances that he's getting are right on the edge of the 6-yard box. His goals that he's scoring, he's inside the 6-yard box.
Yeah.
Right. So where he's getting is he's receiving the ball or he's making driving runs down the byline. Right. Your percentages, right, of that being a successful, goal scoring attempt are pretty high when you're that freaking close to the goal.
It's real green right on the front right corner of the 6-yard box.
Right? That's it. And that's the point.
Blazing red along the left touch line, and then, increasingly green as you get toward the penalty area. No, I'm not. I guess that's my thing is if you have the choice, the results are so great, but Salah did the same thing game weeks 1, 2, and 3. It's just that Diaz has done them in weeks 2, 3, and 5.
Yeah.
So, and they're 2 points off. I think this is the problem, is that they're on the same team, and it's such a massive price difference. That's the thing. So that's why I'm
it's double, right? I mean, almost from the start.
Almost.
But why do I feel so much more naked without Salah?
Shouldn't.
I don't like having Luis Diaz. I like having Mo Salah.
Have you talked about this with your therapist? Because
not yet.
You need to. That's just
Yeah.
recency bias.
this episode brought to you by BetterHelp.
The opposite
Wait,
of recency
who?
bias. It's not. It's the opposite of recency bias. In other words, you feel naked without
Reliability.
You
bias.
hate Salah, so you're biased.
No.
I'm saying
No, I'm saying it's Saka has been this.
Oh, I knew it was going to go to Saka.
Not Saka. Salah has been this nice, warm, comforting blanket that Mr. Reliable for 8 years.
Like clothes. Salah is like clothes.
Diaz is the new blanket, and you're like, I don't know if I want the new blanket, but the new blanket's
is
pretty
getting
nice.
wild.
if Luis Diaz is benched this week for Gakpo, how many people will simply delete their teams? I'm not kidding.
Yeah, I doubt that.
It won't happen.
Travis, right?
Not with the minutes at Gakpo. Gakpo played
Right.
90, I
Okay.
think.
Okay.
Right.
So
I just want to
Roll it.
it won't happen. Won't happen. All right. Anything else you want to talk about relative to Liverpool, Diaz?
Yes, I
or
want you
anything?
to. I want you. So you said no when I asked you to talk me out of Trent Alexander-Arnold. You said no.
No, another one that didn't play a minute in Carabao. I just the fullback position is become increasingly important for modern tacticians, right? So the best coaches use their fullbacks really, really well, especially in an attacking sense. Slot is probably the most demanding coach that Trent has ever had. In terms of what he's asking him to do tactically. Trent's come out here recently and talked specifically about basically the Rolodex of scenarios that he needs to be aware of and how he needs to react to those scenarios, right? Because Slot is very, very much a details guy. And that's challenging Trent significantly. But the good news is it's also opening up opportunities for him to defend better, but two, continue to go forward the way that he always did with Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool. I don't know of a right back in football that can do what Trent Alexander can do. And I think in especially leading into the Euros, that was beginning to become more and more of a hot topic, especially as looked at him moving into midfield. Slot didn't mismanage Trent, but maybe laid down some markers early, and that's what we saw with him pulling him off, Trent being upset, and that challenged him in a way that he's never been challenged before, right? And so they, as a result of that, they've developed a relationship and a communication that has kind of unlocked a different mentality for Trent based on the way that he's responding to questions that are being asked to him. I honestly believe that Trent has other levels to get to. He's not at his ceiling, right? And this is the first time that someone hasn't told him how great he was and just keep doing what you're doing. Let me give you freedom. And instead is saying, again, here's the Rolodex. These are the scenarios. This is what you need to do. And he's learning, probably for the first time in a while, how to play his position and how to open up play and open up opportunities to be able to use his huge range of passing beyond, bombing down to down the wing and then throwing it across, or cutting into the middle and then pinging a ball to feet or a free kick, right? It's about carrying the ball and moving and short passes in sequence in order to move the defense and open up opportunities for your front line, right? And Trent is going to be able to do that. The challenge that he's getting is going to unlock another level for Trent, and I think this is going to is provided he stays healthy, this is going to be a landmark year for him. I really absolutely believe that.
Already the most creative defender
I'm sure.
for the season.
I'm sure. And
it's
most
just not
chances
gonna
created, most big chances created.
Just look who he's passing it to.
I would like him-
right? We're talking about that, right?
I want him to shoot more, but whatever. I'm sure that'll happen. I did like
No, maybe not, but
FPL Meerkat on Twitter.
that's not real.
Yeah, it is MEER. Everybody's FPL something. If you want to call him by a human name, you can call him Charlie because that's what he has in parentheses there. FPL Meerkat, really great moment. He captured it, the video of it here. Just said, I didn't realize how close the Trent 11-pointer was to a 3-pointer. 88th minute. I can't tell exactly who it was that put the ball in, but it basically came off the bar straight down off of Trent's thigh, and it was a Kelleher dive. To swat the ball off the line, which basically, he just did it. He was like, then there's no clean sheet.
Yeah.
You lose the minus for an own goal.
Yeah.
And then that probably certainly
Bonus
takes him
points.
out of bonus.
Yeah.
So basically just saying, praise Kelleher. I also like it because this is kind of foreshadowing for when we get to your segment of the podcast, Dave. Because he was quote tweeting another dude. It had it's basically a gif of the moment, but the guy said, if this was Rhea, we would hear best keeper in the world shout.
That's right.
So you can see Kelleher diving and keeping the ball out. It was barely, whatever. But either way, that was what he was responding to. Anyhow, point is, Trent's not coming out of my team.
Good. He shouldn't.
What's next? Oh, do you care about anybody else? There is no one else. You're still fine with people doing a Trent and Robertson double up?
I have Robertson Konate double up.
Okay. What
That's
about his double up?
Weird. It's fine.
Is it though?
Liverpool's defense has just been good, so you're in the business. That's all that
I said
matters.
that a couple weeks ago on my wild card.
Well,
I'm like,
It's been good because Allison being injured isn't really affecting them. Kelleher again looked really good.
You're not
today.
buying Kelleher, right?
No, it sounds like
does Allison have a timetable? That was the other question.
Yeah, it sounds like he's not going to be back for Wolves. But it was a question as to whether or not he might be able to be back for Wolves. So I would expect
no need to rush him back.
Right? I mean, at
There's
this stage,
need. Kelleher's a starting keeper in the Premier League for most teams.
Pretty much everybody, I would say. So ultimately, I expect him back for Palace. Potentially, Wolves is too soon. Palace is a potential. But yeah, at the very, very worst, Chelsea week 8.
All right, roll it.
But so the next 3, I guess that's what I'm saying. Your next 4 matches, are you concerned about away to Palace?
Yeah, Palace is tough.
I don't think that's easy.
Yeah, Palace
not
is
easy.
I
tough.
don't see them
It's
as
not
easy
Eze.
at all.
It's not Eze.
No, it's not Eze for sure. Home to Chelsea.
We've used that too many times.
Are you concerned?
good every
you
time.
hit your quota.
Are you
good every
concerned
time.
about playing Chelsea at home after the international break?
Not after the international break. Chelsea's just so hard to tell. I mean, they could just as easily go on a tear and just destroy everybody.
Chelsea,
as they could just completely capitulate and let every ball roll into the net without even defending it.
I want to give Chelsea 5 minutes at some point, and I know it wasn't on the agenda, but I just think it's worth discussing. Just anyway, it doesn't have to be right this second.
Well,
What about-
if
and then-
we can wrap Liverpool.
I'm just saying, but
and
that's
then
what I'm saying.
Your section is next.
You're
so.
next, but I'm saying you're next like 6. It's Wolves
bad.
and Palace. That's okay. Chelsea and Arsenal in 8-9. Not good.
Awesome.
Brighton and Villa, both at home, but Brighton and Villa, not fantastic.
Yeah.
No, I mean, Villa's going to be tough.
That's what I mean.
At
I'm saying
home,
bad
but
for. I'm
yeah.
saying not necessarily great for.
Anfield's a fortress. So,
Yeah,
you know.
so Liverpool defenses for the next couple of weeks is probably fine, but you start to question that
Right, that's what I'm saying,
moving into
like-
week 8. Yeah, correct.
Yeah, but I'm saying, are you selling Trent in like 3
No.
weeks ahead of home Chelsea?
No, I would not
so that
sell
you
him.
can go
You don't have Trent for clean sheets.
Okay.
You don't have
Just
Trent
saying,
for clean sheets.
because that kind of overlaps too with another bad run of Arsenal fixtures.
I actually do
So-
believe you could have Trent for clean sheets, but
Well, I mean, obviously you're getting them now.
yeah,
Right, but you don't have him for the clean sheets. You have him for his offensive.
for his
returns.
money, you want some more
You want
offense
both.
coming
Yeah,
with it,
yeah.
right?
Right.
Okay.
Yep, fair. All right, Dave, you want to talk about this? This is Dave decompresses section. Obviously, we know you want to talk about Manchester City Arsenal. It was a pathetic and sad match.
It was a great first half.
But you also wanted to talk about Chelsea. So why don't you cover Chelsea real quick?
No,
I want to give Chelsea a second.
As I'm watching Chelsea continue to get ridiculous results, and they're scoring, I don't know, it feels like they're scoring more goals than anyone this season. Look, they poured in 6 against Wolves, and all of a sudden they're playing a West Ham that you think is decent, and
they've proven to not be.
I know. And so maybe them dropping 3 on West Ham isn't that big of a deal. It just seems like Nico Jackson, and Madueke and Palmer are, I think obviously a lot of people, 39% have Palmer. Pretty much round up 40%. It just seems like I was just shocked at holy crap, this is a Chelsea. I thought Chelsea was a dumpster fire, and it just seems like as the season's going on, Maresca's getting a hold of this team, and I think that Chelsea is going to be better. And I hate Chelsea. I hate their football club, but I think Maresca is actually finally going to make a little bit of lemonade out of the lemons that he was given. And I'm not saying all their players are bad. I'm saying it felt like a bad situation. It felt like a sour situation. They had rolled through managers. They have a hodgepodge of guys that, and I'm not saying the hodgepodge, I don't mean are bad players. It's just a weird mix. And they're like, Maresca, you got to do something with this. You got to make stew out of all these ingredients, and you better make it taste good. And it's like, oh my gosh, and I'm starting to see it. It just seems like they are just the weirdest team to figure out. And maybe when they play against, some of the bigger teams, I mean, they played City in the first match. They lost 2-0. But now they've got 3 or 4 games, a couple cup games under their belts, and it's like, okay.
Well, and that's after
kind of feels like
they got kind of stomped in preseason, and they come into the first game of the season. They don't get stomped, but they lost.
Right.
Still,
I know, and now it's like, man, does Chelsea have a chance to make top 4? I'm just saying, it's just crazy.
It seems like the players are bought in.
That's what I was going to actually ask. Do you think that has something to do with the fact that he, basically cut guys like Chilwell and Sterling?
If you think about it, he did what Arteta did. In a way,
I don't think about that.
When Arteta came in, Ozil was still there, believe it or not, and Ozil, he froze him out.
So was Gunnersaurus.
COVID killed Gunnersaurus, I think. I think he's back. Aubameyang eventually, because he couldn't show up to team meetings. Eventually he was fine, and then he was late, and Arteta's like, sorry, I don't care who you are. You're going to show up to meetings on time. And then he kicked Aubameyang down the curb. And I think when you end up, for whatever reason, and I'm not saying Chilwell and Sterling were
problems
problems, but I think he just said, look, we're committing to youth. We got young guys everywhere, and I'm playing them. And this is what we're going to go with.
They got 95 players.
I know. And, Mudryk, they paid a lot of money for Mudryk. He's getting some playing time. He's not starting.
The pressure is off of him at this point. It'll never be fully gone, but it's definitely off.
Oh, for sure.
Compared to what it was when he first came through.
He's giving guys opportunities. I'm not sure before now I'd ever really heard of Madueke much. I'm sure there's a lot of people like, oh, yeah, he came from so-so and was actually pretty good. But anyways, I'm just saying Chelsea's been surprising me. And it's not just Palmer.
You're warming up.
No, I'm not warming up. I hate the football club. But I'm having to show that I'm just surprised. I thought they were going to be a 9th or 10th place team again. And now I'm like, man, do they have a chance to make a top 4? I'm just saying.
I feel like that's been the thing so far. Is no one denying the talent that they've accumulated.
It's they play together. And I think Maresca's starting it now.
It's just a matter of time before Jose Mourinho comes back and pulls it all together.
Look, they'll probably roll Brighton this weekend. Then they're home to Forest.
No way, dude.
But then they're at Liverpool, home Newcastle, which they'll probably roll Newcastle. At United, who knows what you get at United, and then their
Yeah.
home Arsenal. So, in other words, they have a block of 4, which you already referenced earlier, Brian, that is not – well, in Forest. Forest's green
That's what I'm
matchup.
saying.
I don't think that's
super
a
That's what
green
I'm saying.
matchup.
That's what I'm
super green.
saying. Their next, I'm not really seeing.
anyways,
it's a good challenge for them.
We will find out what Chelsea's made of over the next 5 weeks. I just thought that they should get a little bit of love. And Nico Jackson is legitimate fantasy
That's
option.
my, and I was going to say, he was on my original
so was Madueke.
wild card draft. And like I said, Solanke, Havertz, Nick Jackson. It's hard not to look at what he's doing, and I get what the temptation is. I think it's the matchups. We talked about Spurs last week. We don't have to talk about Spurs again.
Look, I mentioned Madueke a few
Matt
times.
will be
He had one
happy about
massive
that.
week against Wolves, and he hasn't done anything the last 3. But he's been close.
He's still playing. That's the thing. I think that was what everyone was concerned about. Are the minutes going to change? And he's not coming out as
No,
as much.
I agree. Anyways, all right, let's get on to
Still
more
a pick.
important things.
The more important things like a
good first-
team that is just brimming with disorganization and animosity, that so much so that they're just getting sent off like crazy,
such
left,
a
right.
troll.
It's like there's
Just a
all over the
troll.
place.
The
These guys.
Manchester City Arsenal fallout.
there's-
What did you write this one down as?
Dave decompresses.
Oh, Dave Cooper.
he's
So Dave,
pretty compressed.
you can say whatever you want. It's all your time. I just want to say, as a neutral who would like for Arsenal for
Get some
someone other,
discipline.
I would like
That's what
for
we wanna
someone
say.
other than Manchester City to win a title. So I've said that last
Honestly,
year.
at this point, they're such babies. I'll let Man City have another one.
Unbelievable.
So this
What garbage.
and this is perfect. Easily my favorite part of this entire thing is the Liverpool, Arsenal, Manchester City resulting banter. I think this is
Yes,
the
it
most
is pretty good.
amazing. It's the most
Silva
amazing
loves it
triangulation
too.
of hate.
Yeah.
And
No one likes
and
each other, but-
Temporary alliance only for re-hate to
exactly
just keep
right.
swarming around, and then like occasionally Manchester United,
Look,
who
man.
knows they can't talk really
That's-
at all,
yep.
lobbing in, and then them getting shut out, and then Spurs, who really have no room to talk, just loving that people hate Arsenal.
I tell you where a lot of love is coming from. Where a lot of love is coming from is from United. Because
Yes.
United
Yeah.
hates
Yeah.
City. And they're like, we've been watching City get calls and having favorable whatevers for forever. And I can't believe that Liverpool I'm getting fired up here. Hands are moving. I'm knocking things off the table. I don't even know where to start.
Well,
name something that you want me to make a fool of myself for.
whatever you want to
Just
talk
stay
about.
humble, man. Stay humble. Stay humble, right?
I just
Stay
want
humble.
what I want. I just want you to talk.
You
and
and
then,
your Norseman.
And you just tell me periodically, because I have a collection of some of my favorite things I have ever seen as this was like unfolding.
Yeah.
Just various. It's just.
I mean, we can start with like, I don't know what happened, and I don't know who told Havertz to on the kickoff go deck.
Just go truck somebody.
Who did he run into? I don't even remember. Like
It was Rodri. He ran right
just
into Rodri.
Squared Rodri up in the chest and shoulder tackled him on the kickoff. And it's like, I mean, I guess the boys talked in the huddle and said, hey, we're letting them know right now that, hey, this is going to be a fun day.
Get him in the mouth.
And that just set the tone, man. I'm not even sure that a tone was needed
What
to be
set
set.
the tone was the no call that came from that. That's what set the tone. It wasn't even the action. It was the fact that Michael Oliver decided that wasn't anything he needed to be worried about.
I will cut Oliver a little bit of slack on this one thing. He probably was like, what was that? I can't give a yellow card out in the first minute of the game. Because remember, last year after Kovacic should have been thrown for 2 reds.
Yep. 2 yellows. Yeah.
He said, no. Well, one of them, yes, minimum a second yellow,
Yep.
but it was a red offense. And Oliver said later, I didn't want to affect the match.
Yep.
Well, he only never wants to affect City matches. Did anyone get a yellow card on City for dissent, Brian, in this match?
I don't know.
I think not.
Or kicking the ball away.
Let me
Or
give you.
kicking the ball
Let me
away.
give you a good one to help frame some of the
Okay, here we-
discussion.
yes,
Doku.
sure.
LFCJ, who has a giant banner on his Twitter account that says the Slot Father, so it's Arne Slot. This is very much a Liverpool account. LFCJ says, there's a full-scale meltdown every time Arsenal drop points. I'm not sure they've ever just accepted a loss or draw and moved on. There's always some huge controversy and conspiracy that made them not win.
I mean, you could just as easily change the names, and that
fired.
That could be Liverpool.
That's one.
I get it, but that's
That
not
is true,
always
though,
the
too.
case. And I that doesn't come from my mouth. There's plenty of times when it's egregious.
Oh, there's
I mean,
so much other nonsense that comes from your mouth.
Oh, that's fair. No, look, yes, there are times. Look, who knows? Someone else said this, and this is so true. If Trossard doesn't get tossed, City could end up scoring three more goals in the second half and win that game 5-2 or 4-2.
You're not wrong. They probably actually had a better chance of winning with Trossard on the pitch than they did with him off the pitch.
Very well possibly could be true. So I don't think that, like, I mean, who knows? You never know in any football game. I think most people would have just wanted to see
11 on 11.
11 on 11.
Yeah.
And
I just wanted to
instead,
see as much mayhem as possible.
Man, when I saw Ben White on the sidelines warming up right at the end of half, I'm like, oh wow.
Why didn't you start with that? Your lineup.
Yeah,
just
that
to
was
say, like,
interesting.
Ben White dropped from the beginning.
So he had a slight knock. He was not 100%. And Arteta said when asked about that, he said Ben White will never tell me I can't go. So that he was strictly going off his physio's advice.
Okay.
It's weird that he still played, though.
Well, so again, you must have been close enough to go. And then at halftime, it's like, well, we don't have a choice. I mean, when you pull Saka off and put White on, he just told everybody, hey, we're going to try to survive.
How many passes did they have in the second half?
Like 150.
No.
Oh, Liverpool? I mean, Arsenal?
Arsenal, I think they had a
5.
total like 4 passes total.
It wasn't much.
4.
I think I could probably remember them.
I think they said they had one buildup of 3 passes like one time. Dave, I'm not sure who he writes for or whatever. I just know it's a verified account. Ben Mattinson had said on the 20th of September, he said, looking forward to this setup with Calafiori left back and Timber at right back. I think that's the optimal fullback pairing for this based on who we have. Is that something that will happen? That's not a takeover, right? Like, that's not something that's permanent.
That would be the first time that sort of has happened in Arteta's era where someone
lost their place.
Well, okay, so if he did have somewhat of a knock, but was obviously not bad enough that he couldn't come on and play second half, typically that only happens with either just a string of horrible performances or
someone pulls a Zinchenko.
Someone gets injured. Well, Zinchenko had been working his way out. I mean, I was screaming about him last year because he was the reason for anyway. So Ben White is also someone who I think could eventually, and I thought maybe might be Timber, but maybe it will be Ben White who could eventually take a place of a possibly a Partey in the midfield.
Okay.
So who knows? I have no idea, but it's interesting. I mean, Calafiori comes in, plays great, gets a fantastic goal, and
I mean, an uncontested goal, but yeah, okay.
Fantastic goal.
It looked amazing.
It was fantastic.
I mean, you would look amazing too if the referee pulled you out of position to let the other teams,
If there's one thing that's obvious is Oliver only helps one team on that pitch, and it was pretty obvious. So
now that was a weird one though, wasn't it? Like that, like the whole idea they pulled him off and then he pulled Saka and Walker
the captains
in,
over
and then
to
he
talk.
didn't restart on a whistle.
I agree.
That was really weird.
Again, Oliver didn't have a great day, and I don't think necessarily he did that on purpose.
Yeah.
Obviously, he could have blown the whistle to pull it back. I think he's just scared of affecting the game too much.
Yeah,
and
100%. That's true.
Even though maybe Trossard did deserve a yellow between the two. Either you give him a yellow on the shoulder tackle, or
it wasn't even it was from behind. That's the thing that bothered me a little bit. It was definitely a foul from behind.
Some people at the game said that it is possible that he didn't hear the whistle because the shoulder tackle, the City fans go bananas, so the volume gets completely ramped up. Oliver then blows the whistle.
Arteta says he's making a pass to Martinelli, which is
Trossard was?
Yeah, he wasn't kicking the ball away. He was making a pass to Martinelli.
Wow.
Gary Neville says if that's a pass to Martinelli, he deserves a yellow for the inaccuracy of that pass.
Fair enough. Either way, he had a couple infractions there, and you can't do that. So it just, in other games, people, he said he gave it for the delay.
He had set the bar so high for what was even a foul. That's what was really concerning to me, is that like in a vacuum, I think the Havertz shove and the Trossard shove are at least a foul, maybe even a yellow. One of them's not called at all. One of them is not a yellow because he's found something else, right?
Right.
But if you look at it, like he's pretty sure of what he's doing before the ball even gets kicked away.
Yeah, I just hope Oliver never refs another Arsenal game again.
Yeah, you're not going to be that fortunate.
Anyway,
he's the best they have.
So
at MCFC lads responding to the criticism that Michael Oliver is paid by Manchester City. Did you watch Liverpool versus City in 2019? Trent was playing basketball in his own box, and he awarded 0 of those 2 penalties. It's the one where Pep is going, remember the two? Yeah. So just...
well, that was before the owner of City flew him to Dubai and gave him a nice big bonus to ref some games for him in the offseason.
Yeah, that one's been touted too.
That is legit. So, but that was before 2009. That was after 2019. So he didn't know that he was on the pay scale yet. So, look, Oliver's just looking out for himself. He wants another Dubai vacation. So
don't we all?
Who could blame him?
Yeah.
Don't we all?
All right. So no, the second half comes in.
No, wait. You're skipping over like the most important thing that happened in the first half, Dave.
Okay.
Anfield Fix says,
"Oh, Rodri getting hurt.
Can't recall Klopp ever going out at the start of a title race with the instructions to injure their main opponent's best player, Rodri, clearly targeted from kickoff today."
Let's be honest. It does kind of look like that.
If there's one thing I know that you can strategically do, is get a guy to tear his ACL.
Anfield,
you can.
They went full Sean Payton on this team.
Who set the bounty and how much was it?
Wasn't enough.
It was Rodolfo Barella.
You know who it was?
Who?
It was Xhaka. from afar. Guaranteed.
Can you imagine the smile on Xhaka's face? It had to have been. And I don't care. It was probably the footballer respect of no one wants to see a guy go down. But
yeah, I didn't like that.
But I liked it.
League Ben loved it.
I liked it. I loved it. Get Rodri. Look, I'm so sick of City getting every benefit. Did you see the goal that Haaland got given today in the Carabao Cup against Watford?
I missed that one. I didn't watch that match.
Was it Michael Oliver?
No, shockingly, no. It's a disaster of a play, but Haaland absolutely mauls a guy shoulder tacking and then goes in on an empty net. It is... And then just does a bunch of finger pointing and showing off again. That guy can't get enough bricks to the face. That guy. I can his.
How are you captaining him?
Ass bag.
You're gonna hate this.
His ass bag shenanigans on this day at the end of the match. The gall to pick up that ball, Trav, and slam.
I don't know how that wasn't
two-handed chuck as hard as possible.
That was a little bit surprising.
Gabriel in the head, and it bounces back in the goal. How do you not?
But here's the thing: if Gabriel lays on the ground, I bet he gets a yellow at least.
That's right? If he just drops.
But he manned up and he got up and he got on with the match.
He was already standing. He just didn't go down.
Right.
And then
if he does what Raya or Martinez would have done if they would have got hit, and just
sure.
Dave,
right, what next, Brian?
At H Westwood P.
Okay,
on Twitter.
I'm so glad you came so prepared.
If you're 6'5" and score 1 million goals a season and don't act like that every now and again, what's the point?
No.
You gotta agree.
You gotta
act like you're a professional.
Gotta agree.
That is the act like you're a professional, bro. Especially in a game like he hardly had any touches in the box. Yeah. And honestly, other than his goal, I'm not sure he had another shot in the match.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of block shots
granted,
from him. Yeah.
In the way the whole second half went, I'm not slamming him.
City looked
he
like
couldn't
terrible
get
in
service.
The
I mean, it was obvious Arsenal was going to let their defenders shoot. Okay, so
yeah,
and
here you go, Diaz.
To be honest, it was the perfect strategy, and you just got 6 seconds away from succeeding. And when was the last time City lose a match at Etihad? It never happens. So they came 6 seconds away from getting a victory in an ugly second half way. But you can't. I don't know. I can't fault the strategy. They almost did it. They didn't, and they still got a draw. And if you had asked me before the game, hey, Dave, you could get a draw at the Etihad, would you? I'm like, I'll take that all day. So, I hate it because it did feel like a loss, and that people don't understand draws and or ties in the American culture because we don't have that in our sports. And I try to tell people, sometimes there's good draws, sometimes there's bad draws. And sometimes draws feel like a loss, and sometimes draws feel like a win. And this definitely felt like a draw. It felt like a loss, but it wasn't. We got something out of it. And, and then the shenanigans of Holland again after shaking hands, as Arteta's walking by, looks at him and says, "Stay humble."
Come on.
The ass-baggery of that is I mean, that is unreal.
I don't know what that's about, but I'm guessing it has something to do with something Arteta said to him at one point.
Maybe.
And he's pushing it back into his face. And
know your place. I'm just telling you, all this, I cannot wait.
Primo shithousery.
I cannot wait for him to get hurt. And
you wishing him to get
absolutely
hurt?
Enough bad things. Oh my
gosh, you already wished someone would throw a brick at him.
I would brick him right in the face if I could. Enough bad things can't happen to that jerk face. I'm telling you right now. I used to tolerate him, and after this match, his true colors, like, it was stressful. It was hard work. They were frustrated. I mean, and this is how you know that Arsenal's starting to get in their heads, is the fact of every dead ball, every time that City could complain about something, they had 4 guys going to Oliver. They were absolutely, I'm telling you, they are feeling this pressure.
I mean, there was plenty of time for them to talk to him because during every dead ball, your guys were,
that's true.
This was coming.
Making the most of the time.
Dave,
when you're in survival mode trying to steal a win, you do what you got to do.
Hey, we're talking averages outside of these matches,
Dave,
outside of Brighton.
We're not going there.
City.
To your earlier point, Dave, at AFC James, this is an Arsenal fan. The fact that we put ourselves in a position to be devastated by a draw at the Etihad is a testament to how far we've come.
Fair.
Those Arsene Wenger days when they were winning those matches.
No,
they've come very far since then.
No, I don't know about that.
And then Adam Booker, who's covers Manchester City.
Great.
The irony of Arsenal wasting so much time only to drop points in the 8th minute of 7 minutes of added time.
No, that doesn't bother me.
Is one of the sweetest football karmic corrections of all time.
That's not as good as the Newcastle one.
Incredible.
Liverpool. That was, or even the Liverpool Pickford Everton one where Pickford's laying on the ground.
Yeah,
that was, both those were really good.
Alisson mocked him.
The Newcastle one where the assistant coach was shushing. Yeah, that was. It's great.
No, that doesn't bother me.
This one was nothing to that.
This is so different because it literally was just survival. I mean, it didn't matter if they'd have put 15 minutes on the clock. Nothing would have changed. It was just
for either side because City was just doing the same damn thing over and over and over and over and over again.
Yep.
I could not believe that they never tried to go the byline. They literally tried the same thing over and over and over again
Well,
for
so
40 minutes.
The funny thing is, so Pep was asked about this, and he said, we just have to do better. This isn't the first time we've played against a low block.
That was like the
A lowest of low blocks,
that was
right?
that was a 5-4.
No. It completely was. I've never seen anything like it. And honestly, it may be because and maybe City didn't know what to do because Arsenal was doing it in a way that they'd never even seen before.
Well, Arsenal
in other words,
doing
you wouldn't go into that
Arsenal
match.
was just organized. They weren't moving.
You
They were
wouldn't go.
organized.
You wouldn't go into that match preparing to play against that. Does that make sense? So
or even preparing to play that
no, right,
as a defense, right?
oh, for sure. No, for sure. Well, maybe after the Brighton game, they did do some preparing for that.
Yeah, well, when you got a team that
why are
lacks
you
that
wearing
much
your
discipline.
Manchester City shirt?
Yeah, that's
I
what
am
I was
wearing-
trying to figure out.
It's really annoying.
Like you're really.
I just grabbed a shirt.
I
It's
don't
so
even know
annoying.
what to think about what you're saying because your mouth is saying one thing, but your shirt is saying something else.
Thanks to
What's next, Brian?
MCFC lads also who found the Optastat. David Raya wasted over 9 minutes during the match on goal kicks alone.
That's pretty impressive.
12
That
goal
doesn't
kicks,
include every time he touched the ball and laid on the ground.
12 goal kicks, and each one took
But
an
why is
average
that-
of 45.3 seconds to complete.
Almost a minute per goal.
But why is when you're trying to survive?
I
why
hear you.
is this a bad
hear you.
thing?
There's
If this is happening in a normal match, when they're trying
you're
to
like Nick Pope
again, they're trying to
or
hold on,
Martinez.
trying to hold on to a 2-1 lead at the
I
Etihad.
hear you.
Now,
In your biggest rival, you finished second to them in the last 2 seasons. You don't want it to happen again. You have an opportunity to get 3 points at their place. You do whatever you have to do with 10 men.
this is
And
from
they did.
this is from yesterday from as far as I know, a neutral source from Talk Sport. So they
Okay.
just gave it's the master of the dark arts.
Yeah.
Okay.
Biggest time wasters in the Premier League.
I know.
Average delay in seconds.
Yes.
Arsenal number 1.
Yes. Well,
31.8 seconds.
I know.
Average delay. I'm sure the City match didn't help their
Well,
average.
and
Nor
the
did the
Brighton
Brighton
match.
one. Yeah.
Right.
Because
So,
it's 2 games, a full
Bright-
half.
but-
It's 49th minute
Yeah, so
in the
what-
Brighton match.
It was the 49th. Okay.
And they were winning 1-0 when it happened. And then Brighton got a goal in the 58th minute. So, yeah, look, they've played 5 games. And
2 of them.
if you
are-
take out, that's a whole full game, 2 halves. So you've played 5 games. So
two halves is a full
20%,
game? Man,
20% of your season you've played with 10 men at this point, trying to hold on to leads in both. So I don't know what else to say. It's different if you get down to 10 and you're trying to go after a win, or you're down and you play much more
They
open.
protected. Yeah.
And so, look, 20% of your season with 10 men, I don't know. That stat should say that.
let's drag Liverpool back into this. Well, actually, first Arsenal
All right.
at Liverpool at a lift BLL. Not sure what that is. All I know is it's Twitter.
X.
One of the most engaged single things I feel like I saw in the aftermath of this. He said, or she, nothing scares Liverpool fans more than Arteta matching Klopp's legacy, that they're even twerking for a team that robbed them of so many titles. Hilarious fan base. So then Biggie's Malls at Biggie's Malls.
Okay. Wow.
An actual picture of
Wow.
Notorious B.I.G.
Okay.
After
Wow.
after 4 full seasons, Klopp had won the Champions League, the UEFA Super Cup, Club World Cup, and the Premier League with a net spend of £90 million. Arteta would need a DeLorean and a club willing to pay £450 million for Kieran Tierney to match Klopp's legacy. We ain't scared of it, you freaks.
That's really well done.
When did your brother change his Twitter handle?
He is not that witty. He's not that witty. Oh, that's fantastic, man. People are so witty and funny, and that's awesome. That's
All right.
fantastic.
Speaking
All right.
of witty and funny,
So,
we
is
need
there
to
any
get off of
takeaways?
Dave and back on to Brian.
Right.
Yeah.
There's no more takeaways from this match other than the fact that you just keep captaining Holland and all
And
the
hating it.
and everything goes back. I did have one thing about the Rodri injury. Let's go back to last season.
Yeah.
How did his injury affect City?
We do have that on the agenda.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yep. So let's talk mids. Let's talk mids, forwards, roundup, and then we'll talk about Rodri-less City.
Well, I mean, I just
Probably should have organized that better, but
Well, no, I mean, I just think like the way Pep has described it is basically, I don't know, and we'll have to figure it out. And I think the feeling is, and I think the reaction you've
Brian
seen.
said, "Screw your schedule. We're talking about."
Well,
Rodri
no,
right
we're
now."
on it.
No, but
We're there.
No, but
Please.
just because it ties in directly
For sure.
with the
Let's-
Rodri injury.
please, let's do it.
Okay.
That's the only reason why, is just to say that's why I think Rico Lewis, one of the big
He
reactions.
wasn't
to,
playing in that position though.
No, but I think that's the idea, is that if he can play so many positions, he's comfortable and he can play midfield. He can play multiple defensive.
Kovacic is the immediate
Yeah.
go
Right, but I just think the feeling
Stones.
the feeling is that also Kyle Walker was poor, and so
Yeah.
I think there's the combination of
He wasn't good enough. He
poor-
wasn't necessarily poor. He wasn't good enough.
Right. So I think that's the feeling that the biggest beneficiary here is Rico Lewis. I think obviously the minutes risk is not. I don't know that it goes away, and it's not like a like for like replacement. It's not like nobody can fill in that exact role.
But is KDB healthy?
And
No,
by the way,
so-
Rico Lewis did not play in the Arsenal match. No, again, he didn't start.
Right.
He didn't start. But
No,
and,
how
and then,
how
and
else,
the- and
how
then
else was I going to get Lewis Hall's one off my bench?
Okay, right.
No, but Rico Lewis played 0 minutes, and I just think that seems to be an anomaly. That to me is not going to happen that often. It wasn't already going to happen that often. It's a risk you take. I just think his numbers are so far and away for his price. He's far and away the most attacking defender that there is already, basically, other than Porro and Trent. So
Right.
That's it. He was
Agreed.
already that
Right.
in that realm as it is. Maybe now Gabriel with two, with goals every week.
I don't know. His head's not going to be right after
But
getting
whatever.
clobbered.
No, the De Bruyne injury we already said is not a long-term one. He wasn't fit for Arsenal. Lucky you. But it's not something.
Honestly, it would have been a different second half.
It's not it's not going to be long term. So it's not a long term injury. I think the one that's really disappointing, and this is what I've seen other content creators talking about, just that there is no other obvious choice. I've seen Savinho show up in a lot of wildcard drafts for people.
It's just he keeps starting, right?
Yeah.
And so
He
you're
didn't
like,
look bad.
No, and I think the feeling for City is I've seen that comment too numerous times. How did we manage to clone Mahrez? He has
Yeah.
similar
He
movements.
really did. That's
Similar
interesting.
speed, similar
I have not
quickness.
seen that, but I see that now. Yeah, that's great.
So
he's already more effective
show.
than Doku. I can promise you that.
Yeah, that's
sad.
sad.
Yeah, but Doku's he's developing. Give him more than 3/4 of a season, man.
All right, whatever.
Don't be so harsh.
Come on, man. Where's your
Be a
heart?
true fan.
Where's your heart for Manchester
I don't
City?
think he's got it.
Give the guy a chance.
It's like
I don't
this is
think
what it
he's
is. He's took all of the love he had for Manchester City and he threw it on Chelsea. That's what it was.
Never had love for City.
No, I think that's everyone's kind of all
right.
That's the problem is you want
So
you want
Rodri being out, will it affect Holland in any way?
That's the question.
That's probably
where
the
I was
great question.
Yep, that's where I was going.
Rodri being out.
They already didn't have Rodri for the first 4 games of the season, and it didn't matter. It was the Grealish was there, and the De Bruyne was there,
Yeah.
and that was that. I think that was the case last season. Doku was better for Foden, bad for Holland. Grealish better for Holland.
Yeah.
So the fact that Grealish had come back in and was playing so well, or at least had kind of Grealish is good. I mean,
They have an understanding too. That's the other part of it too. Is that their personal relationship seems to definitely translate from the locker room to the pitch.
Well, I mean, look at the minutes for the midfielders. De Bruyne at 357. So this was, this he misses this game, and that's really it. Bernardo's at 366. Savinho at 283. Kovacic at 344, Doku at 299. None of these guys are playing. Like no one is playing constantly in the midfield. Foden gets his first. Like he's played 65 minutes this season. He looked good in the at the end of the Champions
he's got
League
185
game.
minutes. Grealish. You talking about this game? You said this season. I think you meant. Did you mean that game?
No, I meant.
No, I mean since week 1.
I got him for 185 minutes played this season. FPL site.
Well, that's not what we use on this podcast. We use fantasyfootballfix.com.
1971, 83, and 12 in the last 4 matches.
I don't know.
Add them up. 185.
I don't know how they calculate.
All right, fair enough.
I don't have my calculator on me. No, but the point.
Nice.
That's such a Liverpool, Manchester City, Arsenal squabble to fight over 2 minutes. Dave dragging time wasting into this podcast.
Oh, that's perfect.
Typical.
Typical.
No, so
You gonna lay on the ground some more?
I think that is the issue, that you want last season Foden as an option. It's just not there. You're not doing
Not
it.
yet.
You'd be
Not yet.
If you want to go that Maverick, it's weird to say it's a Maverick choice to go to try for Foden now. You're just not doing it. Who's doing that even on a wild card? Why would
Is he
you
warming
do that?
up though? Like I mean, he's
Sure.
in his first 2 matches or whatever, right? So
Yeah, he's not crazy. Not a crazy choice just on talent, but it just
there's no history.
I think
yet.
you'd like to see
if you're investing that much money,
you want to see him even
some minutes.
start. You want to see it. You want to see something, and so it just hasn't clicked yet. There really isn't anyone other than, if you went to Rico, if you went, obviously Holland, but after that, Ederson's your next most nailed. If you want to go by minutes, Akanji's played all 450.
Correct.
Gvardiol's close. So
all right, last segment, Trav.
We actually skipped mids forwards roundup.
Yeah, that's the last segment.
Well, we have the goalkeeper segment.
Oh, shoot.
No, so I guess just look at what we've got for transfers in. Like if you're picking your team, like Luis Diaz, we already talked about, like by far the most transferred in. He's almost at 1 million transfers in, or he's at 800,000.
Yeah,
Lord,
like inching up there. But like, is Brian Mbuemo? Did you transfer him in?
I already had him.
You already had him.
I have him.
You have him now.
I've had.
Oh,
him.
you had him
on my wild card. I brought him in.
Good for you guys. Smith Rowe. Did you move to him?
No, but
I have mostly.
I'm in a weird spot.
Yeah,
I'm in a weird.
Even a consideration.
Yes. I have an expensive midfield, so he wasn't.
I would rather get to. Is he what? Is he 7'5"? What?
No, he's 5'8".
5'8".
He's 5'8".
He just went up.
No,
so,
he's totally. I mean, yeah, if the money's right, he's totally worth it. I mean, I guarantee he's better than anyone else around him.
Remember who else from Fulham midfield got an assist this week on the Raul Jimenez goal? Go ahead, say his name. Baby oil him up. Talk about his
oiliest winger.
The oiliest winger gets an assist this week. He's 5'1". Traore. Probably not a strong consideration for most people, but still, he did get the return this week.
He continues to do interesting things.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they're not that interesting.
Interesting.
The only reason why they're interesting is because he glistens so much in the sun.
Saka in your team?
He's not.
Any chance of you getting him?
I don't have the money to do it, but if I could, I probably would.
A return in every game so far. That continues this week?
Yes, absolutely. Although, you already stated it, for whatever reason, against Leicester.
Hasn't done it. But yes, I would expect so. You would think that streak cannot continue, so it's got to end at some point. By the way, Brian, I have a free transfer this week. Adama Traore greater than Onana. Is that fair? Like, is that a simple transfer there? No, I don't know that I would make that.
Not against Ipswich. Maybe hold a week.
I don't know that I'd make that move. The actual number, it's FPL updates and tips is the account actually. Okay. Saka has 6 career appearances in the league against Leicester.
Okay.
0 goals, 2 assists. So,
Not great.
I mean, you might think it's more, and that can certainly change this weekend. No, so I mean, I don't think that changes the way you're not looking at past performances and thinking like, well, he hasn't done it before.
Hey, speaking of hasn't done it before, is it time to move on from Anthony Gordon?
Well, so
Who?
we said that last week. That I just said. I think that when
Who?
you guys were doing your wild card, I mean, I think that was the.
So he dropped on the 24th from 7-4 to 7-3, which means he's already dropped once.
Yeah, and you know why? Because who went up for Newcastle?
Barnes
No
didn't
one.
go up.
Barnes did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Barnes went up?
Yeah, because Dave.
Barnes had gone down though, so
Yeah.
Barnes is back up to 6-5.
Yeah, because Dave, here's
Your boy, Brian.
No, here's my boys.
Oh, wow. He's in the top 10.
Look at his numbers since game week 2.
Wow. 5, 9, 8, 10?
Uh-huh.
Ooh.
Probably is that the most under the radar run of matches? 3.2% selected for
Wow.
6.5
because-
Harvey Barnes.
Wow.
Right. Which is odd because Gordon's still getting the minutes. He's not doing it. He's doing it in the middle of the park. Gordon's
But
still
he's
outside.
not hot like Harv
No.
is.
I'm just saying like
He's hot Harv.
I don't think it's one or the other. I don't think it's at Gordon's expense.
Is there anything weirder to you than thinking of the disappointment, the feeling of disappointment around Newcastle so far, and then looking at their results and realizing it's win, draw, win, loss? Like your first loss.
They're
of,
sixth in the table. They're
yeah,
tied with
your
fifth
first
place
loss.
Chelsea.
I'm just saying everyone, because I think
They're 1 point behind Arsenal.
that's what I'm saying. Like because Isak isn't
Yes.
getting returns and Gordon's in so many
And
teams.
they're getting scored on a lot.
Defensively, right.
Yeah.
They have a clean sheet week 1 against Southampton, which was lucky. And then, they concede every week since, and their defense is nothing, so whatever. But, like,
Harv is absolutely under the radar.
look at that.
3.2% owned. You're right, Brian. Wow, good. Man, look at that.
It's a good thing we have a segment for this.
We should have a Harvey Barnes segment right next to my Alex Moreno segment, which can be backed up against my Eberechi as a.
Yep. All right. So, as hot as Harv has
Excellent.
been, would you rather have Harv or Mbuemo?
Waymo.
Mbuemo scored
You'd rather have Mbuemo.
1
If you have
point
to-
more currently than Harv.
If you're picking one or the other, I think you're still picking Mbuemo because you're getting the
their
penalty.
schedule's nicer.
Schedule's amazing going forward, and Mbuemo is
He's the pen guy.
Barnes or Eze?
Still pick Eze.
I would pick
Eze's
Barnes based on
Eze's
recent
in no man's
performances.
land in terms of points
Because
returned.
Eze
You've
is
got to come off him,
look.
Brian.
It's Eze and Bruno Fernandes as your all underachiever team so far. They're the captain and co-captain of the all underachievers. They keep doing it. That's the thing. If you're going straight by statistics, if you're going just straight numbers for the season, Eze is your second. He's taken the second most shots of any midfielder. It's not like there's low percentage chances. He's got 4 big chances and an XG over 2. It's almost 2.5, and he's scored 1 goal. So like, Bruno's worse. I think Bruno Fernandes is worse because he's had it feels like has had more opportunities with chances created plus missed big chances. I'm just saying like, Eze's still less than 7. I would just hedge on the talent. They haven't. I don't feel like they've really come together yet.
No, they haven't.
And Kedia
figured it
is
out.
just now
Yeah.
getting incorporated into the
I'm
team.
not in any way. I'm just talking about Eze's fantasy performances. It's just I like the guy. I think he's super talented.
Yeah.
But there was a time when Zaha was there, and you couldn't own Zaha either. Then there was times you could own him, and this feels eerily similar to that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's just that Eze's performed on par or beyond every other midfielder below or above him, and the returns just haven't been there. So it's either you just say, well, he's never going to get anything, or at some point it's got to stop. So I mean, if you're picking, like, if you want to go into the schedule, like Crystal Palace, like to me, they're always going to play whoever they are tough. Like, he had a big chance. Look,
I thought you were going to say they're always going to play whoever they're going to play.
They're going to play whoever they play. I mean, he had another big chance against Manchester United. I mean, it ends 0-0. Like, if you see the chance that he has, you just say, like, how does he not score it? To me, that's
lack of talent.
Yeah, it's just purely he just doesn't have it in him. No, they're at Everton this week. Like,
if Branthwaite's back, they're going to stop everything.
Yeah, they're going back. They're straight back to the brick wall dice ball. No, I don't love. I mean, yeah, at Everton,
Sean Dyche, their coach.
I feel like that's still a good.
I know who it is.
I feel like that's still
weird.
a good. I feel like it's a good fixture for Palace. You take what you get against Liverpool. So, Palace home against Liverpool. I don't know. You have no idea what you're getting. We already talked about how defensively what Nottingham Forest has been this season so far. So at Nottingham Forest, still green as a matchup on your rating system in real numbers.
Not green.
And then Spurs after that. So
right.
I think all of those matches, once you get through Liverpool, like take what you like, however you want to read Nottingham Forest, whatever. But Chelsea, it's the reason why. Like if you wanted to go in 2 weeks, if you wanted to go to Mateta, if you want to go to Nketiah, this would be after the international break, I guess, and for game week 8. Like to me, I feel like that. I feel like it opens up for them in a better way.
Moving on to other midfielders to consider, Karo Mitoma. Still on him?
Nope. But Heung-min Son. He's kind of scoring on par with Saka.
This week,
well, yes.
Just those giant numbers,
big numbers.
He finally he Morgan Rogers his way to a 10 this week against Brentford.
I just feel like he's too expensive to be scoring that streaky.
I think what you don't
but the
like
points are there,
but this is what you don't like, and it's what happens. It's what happens with creative Salah. You go through the XG numbers, and it's 0.03 against Leicester for Son. Then he goes his blow up game. Goes for a brace against Everton.
Yep.
So on an XG of 1.14, whatever, he scored a brace. And then the last 3 weeks, it's been 0.1 XG against Newcastle, which we talked about that weeks ago. They had a really low team. Like the performance was just generally low chance shots that they took, even though they took a ton. He goes a 0.04 XG against Arsenal, like does next to nothing in that game. And then last week, even with 2 assists, he still goes for a 0.07 XG. I don't like. It's the same with Salah. I don't want creative Son. I want attacking Son.
Yeah.
So great that he had the distribution was awesome for Madison's goal, and I can't remember who he assisted on the other one, but
Brennan Johnson, I think.
Yeah, but either way, like. Great that he has a high XA. I don't want him to have high XA. I want goal scoring Sonny. I don't want assisting Sonny. So yeah, I think that's the problem. He's 10. Big credit to FPL Raptor this past week. Not necessarily Son, but it was James Maddison who has the second highest expected goal involvement of any player except Holland for the season so far.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And I think that was one where, speaking of people who probably aren't going to make it into a lot of wild card teams, James Madison's been really good.
Are you bringing him in? 7-5?
I think about it. That's the problem. It's fitting it. It's who's he fitting?
Would you rather have Luis Diaz or James Madison?
That's what I was going to say. It's got to be. Yeah. Let's hear it.
Would you rather have Mbuemo or Luis Diaz?
I have them both.
I know.
No, I mean that's the thing. It would be more like
one of them away,
no. It would be more like
for Madison.
For me, it would be more like do I find an extra $2 in something to turn Morgan Rogers or Smith Rowe into Madison?
Right.
I like Spurs attack more than I like Fulham's.
Right.
But it's not like Smith Rowe. I mean, that's the thing. What you're going to get for 5.8 from Smith Rowe, I think, like so far, you just say he's a good asset at that price. We talked about it last week with Spurs. Like, when is it going to unlock? And it happened this week against Brentford. Solanke scores, Son gets for 2 assists, Maddison has a goal and an assist. Like, what you end up with, like, in that attack, when it's flowing, when it's actually working, like, it's awesome. And it feels like it's been so stuck, for multiple weeks. Like, it was bad against Leicester, great against Everton, bad against Newcastle, expected to be bad against Arsenal. But there are usually more goals in that game than one. But whatever, like, right. and then they're home to Brentford and they crush. So
interesting.
And now I would say the same thing for Spurs that you would say for some of the other best scheduled teams going forward. Like at Manchester United, what are you nervous about?
Nothing
with Manchester United. Brighton, West Ham, Palace. Villa, okay, maybe that, but there's goal there. I mean, it was the last time they played, it was 5-2. So I get it. Not the same year, whatever. There's just a lot of really great fixtures all the rest of the calendar year.
Fair enough.
For Spurs. And I feel like that was one of the reasons why, even on Wildcard, where I was like, I want to get somebody in there. I can't make Porro happen. I don't know that I want defensively. He's still a good pick, but it's a lot of money to make up. Solanke, that's why I was like, I'll take my chances with Solanke. And then I don't know how you wouldn't pick, like, if you get best case scenario Maddison right now, like, he offers you, like, based on actual numbers so far, he's beyond Son, and I mean, he offers the same amount of creativity. Plus, he's expanded his goal threat. So, I wish I could. I mean, it's just I'd have to lose somebody really good to make that happen.
All right, let's talk forwards. You've mentioned Solanke. Who else do you like?
There's not a ton of conversation there, right?
Wissa is out, so we got to find somebody else.
There's only like 4 names.
Cunha,
it's all those.
João Pedro.
I was going to say João Pedro's injured. Pictures circulating. The big one was him playing video games or whatever, and there's crutches behind his screen. Wasn't pictured in training today, so I think everybody's kind of assuming that João Pedro probably not playing anytime soon. Plus, I would just say look at Brighton's fixtures. I feel like they're headed into one of the worst like parts of their fixture run. I understand the pick, like it's so many of those 50-50s. Like people talked about it, like I've seen it, like people saying it, like if you had the choice between Jota and Luis Diaz 4 weeks ago or whatever, when they were the same price, and just look at what the results of that have been. It's really similar with Danny Welbeck and João Pedro. They were the same price. Welbeck got his, Pedro got some but less, and Welbeck just kept going, and Pedro got hurt. And even now, like even last week, Danny Welbeck, an unbelievable. Did you see it? It's your guy scoring a crazy free kick. It was awesome.
It was good.
I did see that.
Goalkeeper didn't
It was
even
fantastic.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. He's still going. So, like, yeah, schedule's not as good. I don't know that you're necessarily going there, but it's all those same, like, how much do you love Chris Wood? Like,
Chris Wood's been crushing.
Chris Wood's been excellent. Like, Calvert-Lewin and Vardy were, like, your hottest picks ever as forwards for cheap forwards playing against each other last week. We warned against illness. Turned out to be not as ill as everybody, as even Sean Dyche made it sound. But you can't score goals in a
Sean
month.
Dyche makes everyone sound ill.
Right. So you get goals from, like, nobodies. Like, all the hot picks do nothing. So Vardy does nothing. Dominic Calvert-Lewin does nothing. Dwight McNeil does nothing.
There was a hot second where I was bringing Vardy in and captaining him, and I'm glad I didn't.
Yeah.
Wow. That would have been bold.
No, so do you trust, like, Raul? It looks like it's Raul Jimenez's forward line in Fulham now. Back-to-back goals for Raul Jimenez. So
it's good to see.
Yeah, for sure.
That's something to look at.
Luckiest points off my bench of all time. I had Muniz in my first bench spot, and of course João Pedro didn't play, so I immediately got his 4 off the bench last week.
Unbelievable.
With Muniz coming in at 90th minute or whatever, and getting an assist.
Yeah, unbelievable.
But Raul Jimenez, back-to-back goals.
That stuff doesn't happen to me, Travis.
Yeah, it does.
Well,
Why?
You'll
Like,
get there
doesn't
someday.
happen to you either.
No,
did
it
you
doesn't.
put Duran in your team?
That was
No,
that was the next
no.
one I wanted to talk
I
about.
have
I did not.
Holland, Havertz, and then
Rando
some
Stewart.
guy named Stewart.
Oh yeah, you got the cheapie.
I got Stewart.
Stewart
What you
Little.
should bet on is
Stewart's actually played the last 2 weeks.
What?
He
No
subbed
way.
in. He subbed in.
Duran scoring a goal off the bench this week?
He does every week.
They're playing Ipswich. Is he going to
It's the same
score a
thing
goal?
we do every week,
Duran
Pinky.
definitely scores this week.
Okay. It's like you should pick the match where he doesn't score a goal off the bench.
That's interesting. That'd
You
be
and
fun.
Travis should bet on that right now.
No, you pick. It's your bet.
No, I still think Cunha. I had Cunha in there for a second. I still think he's a good pick. I feel like
I brought him in this week. I think he's the pick. I had to move on from Wissa, so I brought in Cunha.
I think Cunha is a good pick. He scored in 2 out of the 5
you
matches.
have to play him against your guys.
I don't have to.
I
but
don't expect him scoring this week.
I don't want him to score, but he's on my team.
I've already seen it. I've seen it. Just like I'm sure will be one of the most popular picks. People are going to wild card later. I'm sure there's still plenty of wild cards to go. But like game week 9, like after Wolves play Manchester City, like that seems to be the time where everybody is pile on Wolves assets. But yeah, sure, get in
Okay.
on him now.
All right.
And then how much do you believe in Nick Jackson?
You don't.
A little.
You don't. I mean, you need to, but
A little.
you don't.
A little.
I mean,
just saying a little.
this is ridiculous. Just like everybody thought, the top 4 highest scoring forwards: Erling Haaland, Danny Welbeck, Nicholas Jackson,
Good call.
and Chris Wood.
Good call, Brian.
I mean, it's
Good
just
call.
a template team, right?
All outscoring Ollie Watkins and injured
And-
Solanke
yeah,
and
Havertz and-
Havertz and everybody else.
Hard to believe.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about goalkeepers, guys.
My phone just died.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
All right. We'll finish this segment. Well, Brian, you're still audio. We just lost the video. Goalkeepers, look, this needs to happen within a minute because
Go ahead.
I don't know. I don't have much to say there other than Onana, for whatever reason, continues to be a goalkeeper that can. I never respected him as a goalkeeper fantasy-wise. Last year, completely wrong, and he's doing it again. I feel like he's kind of taken Pickford's spot, where last few years you could just stick with Pickford, and you're like, he plays for Everton, they're crap. And at the end of the season, he's the highest-scoring goalkeeper. And I feel like Onana is on track to do that again, and I don't understand how or why. He's also cheaper than Raya, Ederson, and Allison. So you can save a valuable 0.5 there, going completely against everything that I believe in. I think United is a complete dumpster fire. I don't think they have a great defense. They don't have a good offense. I literally think Ten Hag won't last another 2 to 3 weeks. And for whatever reason, Onana continues to either make saves or he'll save a penalty, or United will get a random clean sheet. And Onana's fantasy points continue to go. And so I just think, he and a couple others probably just need to be. It's tough to trust any goalkeepers this season. Allison, I think, is great. If you want to do 1 week punt on Kelleher, great. And I think Raya's gonna come good with some clean sheets and saves. But
and that's what we were arguing about before we started recording, was ultimate, and why we added this segment is, are you targeting a goalkeeper for the number of saves that they're going to make, or trying to chase down
clean sheets?
And as it stands right now, there's really only a couple of goalkeepers that are really consistently getting clean sheets. And that's the hard part, right? Is because ultimately, you're either getting a stalwart that you're going to pay a little bit extra for, that is going to be more likely to get you a clean sheet, like forever everyone was picking Ederson or picking Allison or Raya, right? At that point, you're hedging on clean sheets, which as a defender, you want to try really hard not to do that, right? You want to try not to hedge towards, okay, well, in order for me to justify having this player, they need to have clean sheets, because ultimately, again, going back to City, when you had Ederson, it was annoying because they'd get 80 minutes into the match and then they'd give up a stupid goal after they're up 4-0, right?
Right.
So the question really came down to strategy for goalkeeper. What are you strategizing? Because you were on Henderson for a while. You're going to Flecken. You're obviously targeting not clean sheets, but saves. He's tops in saves.
Yeah,
That's basically what you're looking
it follows the
cheap saves.
It follows the exact numbers for shots allowed per game defensively. So it's Flecken, Pope, and then Raya. And that's your top. That's your bottom 3 for shots allowed per game so far. Actually, Arsenal's allowed more shots per game by 0.2 than Newcastle has. But
again, 20% of their season they play with
for
10
sure.
men.
And that's probably not. I can't imagine that stays like that. But
their poor discipline, they're probably going to have a lot more red cards.
That was coming.
No, but like,
by Raya.
Honestly, like if you wanted to hedge toward like top defenses then, and like, because there were a lot of people who had Sells as their goalkeeper from Nottingham Forest. They already had that because Nottingham Forest had a pretty good run of matches there. He's performed well. Like, you could, I mean, if you wanted to hedge on talent plus bad defense and kind of allowing a good number of shots, like Muric from Ipswich, we talked about how they have kind of a useful schedule going forward. Why not? Like, what they could. I just feel like all these guys are like, they could. Yeah. The one team that has done it for, every week so far is Liverpool. And they,
with the different keeper, though, which is a problem.
Right. And that's
but Kelleher will be fine.
Right.
All right. He's done. He's going to pass out unless he has some more cookies. So what do you say we wrap?
I think we should wrap it up.
Guys, awesome work, Brian. Crushing the stats. I'm telling you, you will not get a breakdown of budget defenders better than right here on the FPL America podcast. Gentlemen, here's to another week of the City, Liverpool, Arsenal hate, love each other.
Did you say who you're captaining?
I'm captaining Holland, vice captaining Palmer. I think I was messing around with transfers. I think all my guys that I might move out have great matchups this week. So I think I'm just banking a transfer this week.
The one thing that I feel like is true, and I feel like I've looked this up to make sure. So I had banked my transfer going into last week. I made no moves. So I had 3 transfers going into this past week.
And you think you still get to keep
them?
So
I think based on the new rules, when next week comes around, I think I come back to those 3.
Right.
So that'll be the first thing you're checking.
I think that's amazing.
The second the match week starts.
So that was another reason why.
I wish I would have done that.
That's
bank.
Yeah, and that was another reason why I wasn't so like, I gotta save my wild card because I'm gonna come back to no transfers.
That's excellent.
Right. You're coming back.
I'm coming
coming
back
off
to
of
3 transfers.
Yeah,
right.
and chances are you don't normally have to transfer the week after your wild card. So
you always feel like you need to, but you don't.
So then you got 4 going into the next week.
Yep, that's good.
All right.
I don't. I still like.
You still going?
No. You have? Do you have any advocacy for your guy Saka
as a captain?
As a captain at home to Leicester?
You could, but no. I would not do that this week. I would rather do Holland. I mean, if you have Holland or Salah this week, you're just going.
Yeah, Holland or Salah.
And if you have both, I would still go Holland. He just terrifies me.
Why not?
He likes the Salah.
Why not captain the hottest asset in the game,
Diaz.
Luis Diaz?
Because he doesn't have the pedigree yet that
Peter Schmeichel says he's lucky, so I can't do it.
I still am not 100% sure that I won't end up finding a way to make Salah get in there.
I hear you.
Have fun.
I was grinding to try to figure out how I could get Diaz in my team, and I'd have to say goodbye to Mbeumo, and it's not that I don't want to do that, but Mbeumo's home to West Ham this week, and West Ham's been crap. So, this feels like a brace this week for Mbeumo. All right, for the FPL America podcast, we've covered everything we can possibly do.
It's midnight.
It's late. Until next, this is David Smith. Until next time.